Oh, hello there. My name is Omar Asam, and I'm a fifth year student in Faculty of Pharmacy, Cairo University, and I'm your presidential candidate for this year. So, the first years in my college life in Cairo University, I was part of the student union of pharmacy faculty, where I was a media member there. I had a radio show called Bolto Beats on SoundCloud, and during these 2 years also I was a delegate in five schools business. And then I went into MAC, first as a delegate in the Committee on Foreign Relations, and the next year I became the vice chairman of the same committee. Last year I was the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations, but on juniors program for high schools. The reason I'm applying is I really would like to handle a responsibility. I never had the opportunity to do so. I was a vice chairman, it had some responsibilities, and I was always been the available one if the chairman wasn't available. But I wanted to take a more up challenge. I wanted to challenge myself to become more effective in decision making. And that's why my mission and vision for the next year, if I was elected the president, it would be to create and form a creative platform or atmosphere throughout the year that would help increase the quality and the quantity of events and even the academic content throughout the year. This will also include activities from the newsletter, the PR, the opening, all these events and activities that shall be constructed throughout the year. I would like to add the creative elements to it and make it more impressive and more avant-garde. Employing such a thing would need a really smooth atmosphere, coherent integration would be to the best, hopefully. A really strict time plan, not with flexibility in the changes in the conditions of the country. Also able to create the sense of importance to the place, that this place is important for each and everyone, from the president until the last very member in the entity. To do so, it will need a very hardworking, passionate people from everyone, and be able to apply such methods and ethics into the other members and delegates, even the heads and the secretariats. My best strengths and weaknesses are as follow. I consider myself a passionate person. Also, I believe hardworking is the epitome of every good thing to happen. My weaknesses would be I'm a bit short with some leadership skills, including the responsibility, but I'm working on it, on taking full actions and full responsibility for any mistake, and giving the success for the team as a whole. Because I believe that if a mistake has happened, it's because I failed to lead the team into success. My best decision was when I came to MAC. From that moment, I knew I was into this place. I'm part of this place, and I want to take every challenge. I want to challenge myself into this place, and so this is another reason why I'm applying for the presidency for this year. My worst mistake was I did not seek this challenge last year. I was afraid to take such responsibility either in the head or the deputy. And so this year I believe I'm well mature enough to handle such responsibility and to challenge myself into becoming something I've never been before, which is to hold a responsible of a great entity that I would love to have my footprints settled into its history. If I were to give a brief assessment of last year's MAC, it would be in one sentence, and it would be integration went smoother. It was clear that the heads and secretaries went very well together, and on the last year many events went
smoother and produce a high quality of exciting and fun during it. Even the conference last year, it went very well. The timing was perfect for most committees, and also the delegates were up to the challenge. Uh, the only disappointment for the presidential board was that they couldn't provide more events and more content throughout the year. But I don't see that as a negative side of their year, because this last year was like the building block for the next years in MAC, and so to have such quality in such events in the first year, and maybe to have this year after a very bumptious year in MAC'17 is considered a great achievement from an ambitious presidential board, and that's what I aspire to become, to achieve more events but with the same quality and even better. As for the high board, I did not see any problems arising from both sides, even through the evaluation or from my own viewing of the year how it went. If we start with the academic committees and its high board, the high board at first had some rough beginnings due to some connections or communication problems due to the different minds of three very respected and very experienced secretariats to come into the high board. But then they managed to come over through such an issue, and they managed to handle the year very well, except for some few. One of the great advantages of last year's heads is the camp, which helped in the integration between both the heads and the secretariats. Also, it managed to hold many training sessions throughout maybe this 4-day camp. This managed and helped most of the secretariats to gain a lot of training sessions in a short amount of time, and also to establish a more coherent side before the beginning of the recruitment, and they wouldn't need that much of training sessions after the recruitment or during the year. But that doesn't mean that training sessions must stop, because training sessions afterwards help what might have been a mistakes during the sessions that comes during the feedbacks, if they believe the heads that they should discuss or try to work on it or on them. As for the organizing committee, they went very well. They had a really good head team consisting of very experienced and very passionate in their own fields. The only issue might have been the training sessions, but for the members, due to the very scarce amount of the training sessions that were held for the members, which might have caused a little bit problems for the heads team during their work and trying to establish a more qualified team for the next heads team. But that doesn't mean that they didn't manage throughout. This would establish, due to the great recruitment phase for the OC, resulting in a very good quality of members, that they would need a little amount of training sessions just to establish them as a qualified candidates for even future years or even for their own life. As for the delegates and members, as I mentioned, the members were very well recruited. They had very qualified traits that really worked their own fields in the special committees, starting from the HR, off to the multimedia and the newsletter, the events and catering, and also the fundraising and the PR and the PSR, of course. For the academic committees, well, first of all, the secretariat team was really wonderful. They might have lacked the maturity, but that is due to the very average ages of most of the secretariats, ranging between 19 and 20, which is a young team, a promising team, but they lacked a bit of experience, which may occur in only 2 of the second-timers secretariats. Now this is due to the very high quality maybe produced by the last year's secretariats in producing a very good amount of secretariats for new, but maybe the high board did not handle their maturity good enough. But that doesn't take away their huge success during the conference or in the sessions or in handling the year as all. As for the delegates, due to the quality in secretariats, they managed to recruit a very good amount of delegates that would seem very qualified for knowledge on the American policies, and also develop a mature sense of how things would work. Seeing that I managed to brief the last year in MAC, proposing a new structure would be really insignificant and trivial due to the success of this year's structure. So I wouldn't propose any significant changes either on both sides, either the OC committees or the the academic committees. But if I would change something, it would be the approach in selecting topics in the academic content. So the idea goes like this. Each committee in the past few years have been selecting its own topics for its own committees and discussing it privately, and in the last day during the floor in the conference they managed to say the bill for all the senators. This new idea, instead of selecting own topics from for each committee, there would be like a common topic between at least two committees. These two committees, for example, like the Homeland and Judiciary, where maybe a topic that have some overlapping jurisdictions due to the fact, for example, immigration. Immigration has its own laws and have been discussed in laws in the Supreme Court, in the judicial. So Judiciary Committee can discuss this topic as well, but it's a case of borders and protecting the homeland security. So it also verifies as a topic for homeland security, as well as CFR. But let's focus on two committees for now. So these two committees will discuss the topic, but each committee will discuss it from its own jurisdiction. For example, immigration, both will discuss the history of the issue and its updates, but both committees will have different approach due to their own jurisdiction. For example, the Homeland Security shall discuss the problems of immigration as a border crisis, and Judiciary will discuss the immigration as a human rights or not, the rights to refugee into another country, and does America must help in the refugee crisis, and more of approach as a humanitarian law or human rights law. So this could help at least close the gap between committees, like the joint game. But instead of only games to just know each other as a delegates, the both delegates will have a common thing to discuss, and during the floor there won't be so much bedazzled views of like, I don't know what they're talking, I don't know what party, is this a Republican party, then I'll vote aye for it, or Democrat, then I'll vote nay. It's a bit an issue I wish to discuss and to override it, because I have seen it in my last 2 years and my last 3 years. So I was a bit unaware of most of the topics. I couldn't understand which topic benefits the own senator. After all, in MAC, we discuss by the senator's view, his own point of view. And so such topic would need both overlapping jurisdictions. Also this idea would help create a new idea of the hearing sessions that would help at least also gap and make a more interesting, more realistic view of how the hearing sessions works outside, especially in the Congress. So it would define as this: not all the senators from both committees will participate in this joint hearing session, but a selected group from both committees, from both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, shall be selected unanimously by their own team. So the team of the Democrats, for example, from the Judiciary, shall discuss and choose 6 people from their own committee to go in and ask the witness their questions. and the same applies for both from different committees and the Republicans as well. Uh, this this doesn't mean that the six chosen participants or senators will only ask their own questions. They shall also gather the questions from the remaining senators who have some questions that they might not have them in their own minds, so they need another questions. So we'll have like 12 senators from both sides to discuss, three senators from both committees, from each committee, make up 6 for each party, and these 12 shall ask the witness questions, all by their own, by the order of their seniority in the Congress. So basically, this is my new idea that I wish to implement during my year in MAC if I was selected as the president for the next year.
So thank you for listening to this plan of mine, and I hope you would consider me for the presidency for next year. And until then, I hope you have a great year. Good night.